Easy Sports Talk Show with Ed Smith and Javon Adams. My name is Javon Adams. You can call me Jay or J Love. We do this thing 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We will be getting back on track here, really, probably around September, I'm going to be honest with you. But that man over there to my side played not only professional baseball, but also played in the National Football League for that first Super Bowl-bound team for the Atlanta Falcons. He is an author. He is a public speaker. What is good, my brother?
Hey, first off, I want to welcome you back into town. I know you and wife, you've been on the run a little bit,
Yes, sir.
but I am a little miffed at you, man, because, you sent me the run sheet over for what we're going to talk about today, and you forgot one of the most important events every year.
Oh, yes.
You're ready to kick off tomorrow.
Okay. So
Little League World Series.
Yes. So, all right. So for those who don't know, because we got a cool show, we got with a little bit of National Football League stuff. My partner, I didn't realize this until I want to say it was maybe year 2 or year 3 of our friendship. And then around that, we became brothers sometime shortly thereafter. But the point is that I realized, so one day I was asking Ed, what you about to do when you go home? Because I'm the dude that, okay, I'll go get a couple of miles in, and then I'll stop by a brewery, get a growler, go home, and then chill out. And he said, I got to get home. I got to watch the Little League World Series. And I thought he was joking. I said, you serious? He said, Jay,
and you
don't get it. Go ahead.
Yes, that's my joint, man. Every year I like to watch the little dude. I watch more Little League World Series baseball in one out and one like when they play than MLB in 2 or 3 years combined.
Yeah,
that's how much I love the little dudes out there putting it all on the line. From
and
all
he is
over
true
the
to
country,
form because every year since then, I would ask him, especially when we were doing it from the compound, when those times when we would be at the compound, the Ed Smith compound, recording our terrestrial radio show at the time. And so he said, "Yeah, man, don't say nothing to me about updates. I got it recorded. As soon as you leave, I'm taking off these clothes and I'm just in my boxers and I'm watching this doggone Little League World Series."
You know what I already did, man. I went through every channel that they play on, ESPN, ESPN2.
Yeah.
And Channel 15, which I think is ABC, I've already got all of them record all events. So from here on out, I don't have to channel surf or anything. They got the games numbered, and I'll be watching them 1 through whatever to finish up the Little League World Series, man.
But I do know that you are a little bit annoyed by how some of these young players, how they emulate their heroes. So you see the bat flips and some of the really look at me type of vibes. Does that still annoy you?
It does. And I'm even talking just the way these little kids up there would look like RoboCop now with all the shoulder, all the way from the shoulder down to the wrist with the hands. And then they got the little patties for the hands, the sliding mitts and all that kind of stuff, which I don't mind. You can protect your hands. But these kids are so shielded up from legs all the way up and shoulders all the way down. And, and then the bat flips and all that kind of stuff. When I was a young man, I hit a few home runs. I never flipped a bat in my life. And, it just.
I think it all started with Ricky Henderson. It started with Ricky Henderson, man.
It could have, but it spilled over so much into everyday baseball now, meaning a day game in June. And somebody wants to flip a bat, it's like, wait till World Series or playoffs or something like that. These dudes are showing out on a Wednesday matinee game. It's like, come on, man, make it mean something now. So the kids see that and they want to emulate it. And that's where I think it should be all about the sportsmanship and stuff like that. But it's gotten a little bit out of hand, and you will see me screaming at my TV from time to time, get down the base or run, that just showing out a little too much for me these days, but they're still a little tiny tots, man. I love watching them get their ball on.
Yeah, thank you for putting me in my place. So the Little League World Series over the next 2-3 weeks?
2.5 or so.
2.5. So before I head out to my Greece trip, we'll definitely be at least a little bit deeper into the Little League World Series. So
I'll give my little scouting report of who I see, some of the talent I see out there.
Yes, sir. So again, he is Ed Smith. I'm Javon Adams. This is the Easy Sports Talk Show with Ed Smith and Javon Adams. So, J.J. McCarthy And this is not a discussion about J.J. McCarthy, even though we will be discussing him a little bit. It's more about the trepidation that coaches and organizations take when it comes to their either their rookies or their high priced employees come when the preseason is here. So we have 3 games in the preseason, and so there's limited inventory there, and then we go right in, of course, into the regular season. And so a lot of organizations they take a little bit of a wait and see type of approach. The reason I mention this is because J.J. McCarthy, I came across the article on on ESPN.com. He has a tear in the meniscus of his right knee. Final determination to be made once he undergoes surgery this week. And the backup is Sam Darnold. And I'm not even trying to get into a discussion about even Sam Darnold, but my question to you was, especially putting this run sheet together, was, do you think this is just another example of why coaches say, I'm going to hold out my players, I don't care who they are, until the regular season? So before I get your answer, I just want to give you my thoughts. I think this is a terrible way if they decide to do it that way, because there's limited inventory in terms of the number of games that National Football League players play, right? So there's limited inventory. So if we know that every game matters, there's 17 games and every game matters, the results are so much amplified, and that's why there's such a love and there's such a fanaticism when it comes to the National Football League. So if you don't play your players, to be able to give them an opportunity to get somewhat into shape, even if you're not playing them the entire game, I think that puts you at a disadvantage, because you're just hoping that as soon as the lights go on, that we'll be okay, because it's not the same, because it's different than, say, with college football, where you can have you can be in Alabama and play, even though this is my alma mater, a San Jose State, and still be able to ramp yourself up with game one, and you'll be all right, because you'll figure it out, and then you'll get into the rhythm really quick. But what are your thoughts on this?
Well, this one was a little unique because McCarthy wasn't touted to start. He was actually going to be playing behind Sam Darnold.
Yeah,
and
we know that leash was going to be short. We know
it was short. But they had the luxury of Sam Darnold, who's experienced. He's a starter, first round pick. Play him a little bit, let McCarthy come around, and you can tell that even because I looked at the snap count. McCarthy had 30 snaps in that preseason game. That means they were really, really trying to get him a look. To a couple of reasons why. One, to maybe get him up to speed. So, now it's live bullets, to see what he might do under pressure, even though it's not with the ones. And the other was, it's just, to see what you might have. If he goes out there and signs like a star, then you might think about elevating him. But the uniqueness of this is, and I'll get to answer your question in a second. McCarthy, he's still not in a bad spot. He was going to be sitting behind Darnold, as I said, anyway. It's not a major injury. They'll probably go in, tighten some things up. This is one of those, if it's just a simple tear in the meniscus, he could be back on the field in 2 to 3 months. And if he's on stride, you could finish out the season, a couple games, get him some action, that type of thing. As far as the preseason goes, man, I mean, it's a crapshoot altogether. Yeah. Some coaches decide they're going to play their players, old school Andy Reid. Other ones want to put them in bubble wrap and don't open till first week.
You look at a Harbaugh from the Ravens. Competition is the key, no matter who's in.
Well, they had that streak going into last year with how many preseason games they won in a row. That means that doesn't happen by mistake. That was going out and trying to get it, and but everybody's got their philosophy. What I don't like, Jay, is that it's not one size fits all. Every team should be different. If I'm a head coach of one of these teams, I might have a young quarterback who's starting with young wide receivers or receivers he's never thrown to before in real live action. Kyle Murray. It might be essential for me to say, let me get him some reps. See, I know he's our $1 million baby, but still, I'm not going to treat him like he's porcelain doll. I'm going to let him get out there just like Patrick Mahomes, just like, some of these other quarterbacks. Get him out there so he can start, getting familiar with the speed of the game again, and also get some timing down with these players that he's going to be going into action with that they might have never, Marvin Harrison. Never, this is his first taste. So now you're going to treat them all like babies. And then the first taste of live action Marvin Harrison is going to see is going to be in September with a quarterback they've only practiced together, not going out there in real live action.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to just go up against number ones like it's no big deal. Nah, you want to see that stuff if you can. In other situations, you have a veteran quarterback that doesn't need the reps, and you've got a roster that's all been around each other. Those guys don't need to be out there even for a couple plays. They know what they're supposed to do. So what I don't like is because the Rams did it a few years ago and had success, now everybody, well, if they're not going to do it, we can't do it. No, you got to have the pulse of your team and the pulse of your personnel, and you either take what we call calculated risk, but don't hide behind, well, we don't want to get anybody hurt. Nobody wants to get anybody hurt, but we also want to get action in so the first week or first month of the season doesn't look like preseason because nobody's playing the preseason. And that's exactly what happens, Jay. Offensive linemen don't have their breath yet. Illegal procedures are up. Holding penalties are up. The first month looks like preseason football, and then you get all the soft tissue injuries because nobody's going full speed. Now all of a sudden here's the thing: we're going to go not from 1 to 60, we're going to go 1 to 100 because we haven't seen this speed, and nobody's wearing a red jersey out there unless everybody's wearing a red jersey. Now they're hunting your quarterback for real, and you'll do anything you have to do to protect your quarterback, which means if I got to hold, I got to hold because I'm not up to speed yet. So, my thing is, it shouldn't be one size fits all. Have some uniqueness about yourself, meaning your team, your personnel, your philosophy on the. Just because they did it and they got away and won a championship this year doesn't mean everybody should. More teams should be playing their guys, and here's the thing too, Jay. Some of these players need to get off their little. Like it's a prestige thing because, hey, I'm too important for them to put me out there and play me.
But I'm going to say this, but I think that, and I agree with you, but I think it's the organizations because the same thing that when we hear about players in the NBA where they don't want to play back-to-backs or when they start to buy into the load management, it's because the organization says, we want to load manage you. And they say in the beginning, those players say, no, I want to play. And before you know it, you start to realize, well, shoot, if you want me to work less and play,
absolutely
get paid the same amount. But to your point, though, it is one of those things where the organization is saying, no. We have your best interest at heart, and therefore, there's all these different things that come into play that maybe puts the organization a little bit behind the 8 ball.
And sometimes, Jay, it's, well, I can't play my quarterback because they didn't play theirs. What's my quarterback going to think if I make him dress, even if it's just for a series or two, because, I can't do that to him because he's our superstar. That type of thing rather than, hey, I'm just going to play you for a series or two. After that, you can take your helmet off, listen to the plays, spit sunflower seeds as much as you want. But I'm going to ask you to go out there and, do some of the pregame stuff so we can, come out the locker room together. You get your series or so in, then we shut you down. But this whole thing, like I said, sometimes these players are looking sometime before the coach even says it, like, you're not playing me, right? Like, what am I doing out there for preseason?
I'm gonna say this. I think we're on the same page with this. And for those who don't listen all the time, thank you for listening. We want you to listen more. But Ed and I don't always agree. And so here's one of the things that is interesting to me. When you mentioned the copycat league, so it doesn't matter if it's football, if it's baseball, or if it's basketball, and include any other team sport that you want. There's no one way to win a championship. Nope. So what upsets me is that, so if you mentioned the Rams, so if the Rams win the championship and then so the organization, so all the other teams look and say, well, they didn't play their players. And so they won by playing more defense. So therefore we have to change everything we do to be more defensive minded and also not play our players in the preseason. No. It just means that you need to be locked down and much more efficient if you're playing the game the way in which you believe that you can win. So if you're playing it offensively, then be more high level offensively and make sure your players are on the same page when it comes to executing, as opposed to scrapping everything that you want to do to be like the team that just won the championship, because that's more recency bias as opposed to looking at the bigger sample size. That's just what I wanted to say about that.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Like I said, one size does not fit all. That's basically what we're saying. I would rather teams have an identity, head coach have an identity, and then sometimes it's fear of, well, if I send my players out there and they get hurt, then I got to answer to the GM and the that should be something that in the spring. Yeah. You're having those conversations with your
And why
GM.
have OTAs in the first place? Why have any of those OTAs? Because there are players that get injured in no pad OTAs. What are you going to do? Not do anything? And
you can't bubble wrap them.
You can't. You have. No. There's an inherent risk that comes along with playing this game.
I'd rather have my players with some calluses on their hands, some, beat up a little bit because of the physicalness of this game, but ready to go, rather than we're just going I've watched some of these practices, with the, you see go to NFL network and they go around the camps and stuff. Yeah. Man, some of these dudes, you would think, I'm like, where are they getting ready for NFL season, or are they just out there at a fantasy camp or whatever? Dudes are just standing out there at the water cooler, walking around. So a quarterback will drop back and do his little 3-quarter and just toss the ball to a guy, and he'll catch it and just run a couple steps nicer. Bro, when I was playing, and I'm not trying to be this dude, but it was catch and turn and get upfield. Yeah. It was, even if we're not in pads, I want everything crisp, and I want it at 100% speed. We're not going to take any hitting out of it, but I want you guys running your routes, getting to your spots, catch a ball, turn. I'm seeing dudes just catch the ball and literally just toss it up in the air to himself, and no urgency at all. And I'm, like I said, bruh,
let's talk about that then. So we'll get to the number 2. We'll get into number 3. But so he's Ed Smith. I'm Javon Adams. This is the Easy Sports Talk Show with Ed Smith and Javon Adams. When you were playing the joint practices, so typically joint practices are a little bit more spirited. You hear about some of these things where maybe there's some fights, there's a little bit of there's just more activity because I'm gonna try to knock your block off just like you're gonna try to knock my block off. Did you have that experience in joint practices, and what is your opinion on joint practices, and maybe what that can help, or maybe how it can hurt a team?
Those are fantastic. If you're not going to play guys in the preseason, those are the next best thing. And the reason being, you finally, when you're practicing against your own team, nobody wants to hurt the other guy across from them. So there's no, it's like, we're like, bruh, I'm trying to cut you off on this play. Just, let's just do this. So you do the dance with each other. Then when it's his period on the other side, hey, you trying to get to the other side of me? Okay, well, there's a lot of that goes on. When you finally get to the joint practices, now you go through all your individual drills against the other team as well. So as a tight end, you line up against their linebackers and their defensive ends, and you might have full, just like half line. So we're going to work guard, tackle, tight end against their tackle, defensive end, and then we might combo block, but this is all at full speed now. This is to the whistle now. The only thing you don't do, and this is taboo, you don't go to the ground. You don't cut a guy or anything like that. Which for, as a tight end, I'm trying to cut a guy off in a game. He's in a hard 7 down there, and hey, bruh, I'm sorry, but I got to do it. And the second that whistle go, I'm going to get them legs, man. I got to get you on the ground somehow. You don't do that during even the joint practice. That's like, you don't want to hurt anybody. Even that's going above and too far beyond. But as far as full hand-to-hand contact, and that's why you see a lot of the fights, because now it's all, I'm trying to show on my tape that I can handle what I'm doing against you and your team of your colors and you're trying to show me up. I don't care where I'm on the depth chart on my side, where you are, it doesn't matter. I could be a 3 on the depth chart and you could be a 1 or another 3 or whatever. We are battling for our football lives. Yeah. And the only protected people out there, bruh, are the quarterbacks. Everything else, you'll see the intensity pick up with their DBs against our wide receivers. Dudes are jamming and trying to keep dudes on the line, and the wide receivers are getting out there trying to show their stuff. Tight end, I'm hand-to-hand combat with defensive ends. And so that's where it all, and then it all leads up to, finally, you'll have 2 or 3 joint practices, right? And then on Thursday or Friday or Saturday, whatever, it's finally game time against that team. Yeah. So, and that's how you wind that clock is winding. And for me, the joint practices, if you're not going to have dudes playing in the games, the next best thing is the joint practices. The only thing about the joint practices, though, which is unlike game, is you're not doing, like, say, first series of the season, Cardinals take the kickoff, get it to the 20. You might have a 10, 12, 13 play drive coming up, right? Yeah. That's real football. In the joint practices, we're doing 7-on-7, which is all running plays against we're doing 9-on-7. I'm sorry, 7-on-7 is all the pass skill stuff. So linemen, y'all go do something else. We're going to run all of our routes in a 9-on-7, nothing but the run plays. So they know there's nothing coming but the run plays. And then we go to team and stuff like that. So it's all still scripted. We're going to run our stuff against, your interior and this and that. Obviously, in a game, it's, it could be 4th and 1 on the first drive. Hey, we're going for it. Get out. You get it. Now the drive is extended and we're going to, it turns out to be a 12 or 15 play drive. Who's ready for a 12 drive, 12, 15 play drive in the joint practice? Nobody's doing those yet. Right. So that's where it's separated, or even the joint practices, as good as they are, it's still just simulation, because once you get to the real thing, there's no scripting or anything like that. You go out there, interception on the first play, defense up, boom, you got to get out there. Whereas, on a 7-on-7, quarterback throws the interception, it's like, doggone it, line it back up. Because we still got 6 or 7 or 8 plays for us to run, so the script is thrown out. But the joint practices, very important, because they're not doing as much in the preseason games. But like I said, you're still not getting 100% of what it's actually going to be out there.
One of the things that if a coach has power, though, correct me if I'm wrong, please tell me if I'm wrong, this is where you can be able to impose your will, or be able to really put that power into place, or really show that power. And I give an example of what happened locally here some years ago when we had Matt Leinart for the Arizona Cardinals, and he was the starting quarterback, and there was Kurt Warner kind of in the wings, and they were doing some joint practices with Tennessee Titans, and that's when Matt Leinart started to get that check down. They kept saying check down, because during those joint practices, all he was doing was checking down, and that gave the coaching staff, the Cardinals coaching staff, look, we may have to go with somebody else, because this is just not going to work. And so those joint practices can reveal, because it can reveal to you, if you're the head coach and you say, well, we still got to go with this wide receiver, this quarterback, this running back, even though, because that's what the owner says we got to do, or that's what the GM says we have to do. But if you have real power or real influence, that's where you're able to maybe do something like what Pete Carroll did when he decided to go with Russell Wilson all those years ago. Yeah. And so those are the things that some of those joint practices can be able to reveal, like a DeBarge song.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct. And what happens is, because everything is turned up in the joint practices, you can tell when a quarterback is feeling it. And, he's got command, not just under center, but in the huddle and stuff like that, because they're practicing everything, getting assigned, getting the stuff in his helmet. Is he having trouble relaying it to the team in the huddle? Is he nervous when they, because they have blitz periods and stuff like that. Now they're not hitting the quarterbacks, but the quarterbacks know that they only have this much time now. So now they're dropping back, and it's like because what will happen, instead of hitting the quarterbacks, they'll just run by them and like somebody sack, and those go against you because they're like looking at you like you got to get the ball out, or and then it's a lot can be told when the temperature gets turned up in those joint practices. And they get frisky because you got to remember the first few weeks used to be hitting against each other, and finally, like caged beasts, man. I mean, we're going to go hit somebody else now, and you can tell it's just the intensity picks up because we get out there and we're getting our stretch on, and you're looking across and seeing dudes you haven't seen in 2 or 3 weeks, and we've been beating on each other, for the last couple weeks, and now we get to go and against somebody else, and now it's our dudes against their dudes, and so it really does, like I said, it gets amped up, and like I said, the fact that they don't, nobody plays in the preseason anymore, those are very valuable tools for an organization to look and see, and sometimes it's not even about, because nobody's going to win every block, but, when he gets tossed down, what does he do? Does, sit there with his hand, or does he get back up and fight? I mean, you can tell a lot how people react. And like I said, that's what those practices are for. And, it's, man, I'm having me a flashback. I want to hit somebody. I might just go out and find Quentin somewhere in the house and hit him. I'm just.
He's Ed Smith. I'm Javon Adams. This is Ed Smith. This is the Easy Sports Talk Show with Ed Smith and Javon Adams. So, growing up, sometimes you would see a kid. So the parents would say, "Hey, insert kid's name here. I need you to do X, Y, Z." And the kid would say, "No, Mom, I'm not going to do it." Right. And so that parent wouldn't do anything with that kid and just say, "Come on, little Jimmy, I need you to listen to me." And then maybe you'd hear another exchange between a parent and their child and say, "Hey, little Jimmy, I need you to do X, Y, Z. I'm not going to do it." Pop. And then so something will happen, right? So if the kid is the wide receiver or a running back or somebody that's entering the last couple of years of their free agent, their contract, and trying to get a new deal, depending on who the parent or the organization is, will determine on if they get that new deal. So there have been there are a lot of examples right now. So we have Dak coming into, we have CeeDee Lamb, we have Jamar Chase. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are when it comes to these contracts. When you have an existing contract, you may have 2 years left, you may have 1 year left. We know that the franchise tag can be applied, but I wonder if with Jamar Chase, his parent is not the one, his organization or his parent in this example is not going to give him what he wants because CeeDee Lamb, because the Cincinnati Bengals, they're not the ones that spoil their kids, meaning they're the ones that are very frugal. They're the ones that, I'm surprised that they gave, what's my man's name? Quarterback. I'm surprised they gave him the contract that they did, right? So what are your thoughts on knowing who the audience is when you're trying to demand a contract extension, et cetera? Because it seems like there are some organizations where you just have to, where your agent should be the one that says, "Look, man, we just might have to just cut bait and go to another organization because you don't want to be here anyway. You don't want to be you want to go in, you want to become emancipated. That's what you want to be. You don't want to stay with these parents. You want to be emancipated." But I just wanted your thoughts on some of those things.
It is so tough, man, because as we know, it is a business. Yeah. And, you're Jamar Chase, you look at what you've done and you think how much they, because they've been telling you all this time how much they love you. They appreciate everything they're doing for them. And meanwhile, the way to show really love is go ahead and pay me, right? Mm-hmm. Well, and they're not going to pay me, but they did pay Joe Burrow, right? Woo. And that is a tough pill to swallow.
And I'm the one that gave Joe Burrow those completions, right? And I'm the one that gave him those touchdowns, right?
Joe Burrow is always hurt, right? but you pay him even when he's not here. I'm going out there and trying to perform with this subpar quarterback that's in his place.
Yeah.
And
didn't they have Browning last year or something like
Browning,
that?
Yeah. And you don't want to pay me. So, the moral of the story is this is a business, bruh. You ain't too far gone to understand that. And to a certain degree, you would like to think, because the teams do, and in some situations they hold all the cards.
Yes.
But at the same time, you make up in your mind. This is something you have to be very, you can't do this lightly. If you are not going to accept anything other than what you think you should be paid, you got to be ready for the consequences as well.
There's opportunity cost that comes into everything. So, so for those who don't know, because I'm business, one of the biggest thing that stayed with me for economics when I was going through my undergrad was opportunity cost. So if there are two things that I could be doing, if I could be sitting on the beach, just watching watching the waves come in, or if I could be applying, or if I could be going out and trying to build my business, there's opportunity cost for both. The opportunity cost for sitting on the beach is that I'm not building my business. The opportunity for going and building my business is that I'm not enjoying that leisure time. Which one is more valuable to you? So that's what you have to realize and understand. There's the opportunity cost with everything that comes into play, especially if you're trying to take an organization and rake them over the coals, or not even rake them over the coals, but trying to exert some type of leverage, which you may or may not have in that situation.
Yeah, and it hurts too when you look around the league and other teams are taking care of their wide receivers. And, because I think it was Amon St. Brown or one of them over in Detroit, And if you're Jamar Chase, you're thinking to yourself, he's not a quarter of the receiver I am.
You say the kid down the block on the corner, how he get a PlayStation 5?
Yeah.
He ain't even a good student. And then you look at the other side, man. So he's sitting on the bench and he got a new bike and I'm starting and I'm getting straight A's and I ain't getting, come on.
It just goes, like I said, it's all about business. Yeah. And you can't have, here's the thing, if you're going to handle your business this way, you can't have soft feelings. Because what normally happens when you say you're a holdout or hold-in or whatever they call it these days, now all of a sudden they're going to come up with all the reasons why you shouldn't be paid. You were the best boy last year, and now all of a sudden they come up with every reason why they can't give you that money.
Yeah,
and
man.
You have to take it, and then when you finally do get paid, you got to walk in the door and pretend to hug and we're all good again. This is business, man.
Cause you tell me, cause you've had an agent. And so the thing that I've heard is that agents shield you from all the negativity that goes on, especially in those contract negotiations. I don't care if you are the superstar or if you are trying to hold on, like you've mentioned, like I'm trying to hold on and just get in here, and they're going to say all kinds of negative things about you. And you got to go in there and say, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
It was easier to shield when there wasn't so much social media out there. Okay. Because now GMs are getting microphones thrust in front of their face. So what's going on with the Jamar Chase situation? And then obviously there's all this tweeting and, we want to get out in front of this. So their social media will put out a statement, and it's harder and harder for an agent. And you got to remember too, these agents, man, they're in it for themselves too, though. Because every dollar they bring in for you is 3%, 4% cut for them. And in most instances, the biggest agents, they got all the players. So they're not just representing you, they're representing Jefferson, they're representing this one. And you see what I just did for JJ last week? I got him,
Just chill out.
I got you, But so it is such a game that turns into business and feelings get hurt. And, I don't know who's advising these young men sometime, because I will say this, you got to have more than just your agent in your ear. And I think that's what happens. Sometimes you get an agent, we all know what he's about. He about it, right?
Yeah.
He about it. So he's trying to get as much. Meanwhile, you should be maybe talking to your mom, your dad, your confidant, somebody.
Or should you not?
Depending on the relationship. I mean,
yes, okay.
Like me, I would go to my mom and dad when I had serious things to talk about. I'm not going to my homies. My homies, they want me to get hey, dog, if you get such and such, we should all go to Tahiti next year.
Yeah, because depending on the family.
Depending on the family,
they might tell you, just take that money, man.
Yeah.
But so your parents, yes.
Yeah, you got to have somebody in your life.
Like, I'm pausing. Most of my family would tell me to say, Jay, you worth more than that. Don't say
but here's the thing. Sometimes, Jay, they like my parents would have, if I was going to do something silly and stupid, I guarantee you 100%, my mom would have been like, you need to go ahead and just get in there, finish this season. You still got your fifth-year option. Don't make this a mess right now. Right. When the time is right, you're going to get your money. But go out there and make them pay you by doing what you're supposed to do. Yeah. I mean, I would have got one of those talks. Not, they don't want to pay you what? You're doing the right thing. Go sit. Make them, sweat it out.
They're not realizing that you sit out that season, you just right back in the same place as you was
right back next in the same
season.
Place.
And they saying, well, just sit out again. And you're saying, you don't understand. I pay your bills.
Sometimes people don't understand the complexity of these contracts, and like in the fine system too. If you're on a fifth-year option and if you're holding out, there's something where they can fine you, but they can give you that money back in the end, something like that. If you're just holding out,
sometimes they can't give you that money.
Sometimes they can't. And like, who's my man over in with the Jets right now?
Hassan Reddick.
Yeah, and he's getting fined $50,000 a day for not showing up. They were talking about what it would eventually cost them, and that's money he can't.
Is it that bad? I mean, seriously, man. If I'm losing $50,000, is eventually, as we always say, one of our favorite guys is Bomani Jones. That's hustling backwards.
That's hustling backwards. Now, I will say they messed up. The Jets messed up because you're gonna go sign a guy in his last year of his contract, and you're gonna expect him to go out and play on that. He has no allegiance to you. When you made the trade for him, it was almost expected. Well, let's negotiate an extension, 2 or 3 years, whatever it is. Get this out of the way in the spring when you brought me over here. And I've only been in the building once, and I'm supposed to have some loyalty to you guys. You should have been talking to my agent every day since the spring. We get this wrapped up. I'm in doing the POTAs. I'm
calling you saying, hey, what's up, big head? What you doing? What you doing? You like pecan pie?
They talking to this man like he boo-boo the fool. Like, hey, come on in here and play this last year, and we'll figure things out when we get to it. Are you serious? So you get me out there, run me up and down the field for 17 games, and then decide, we're not going to, we like your services, but no, thank you. Hell no. So there's all kinds of different circumstances. And for him, he's playing in a totally different arena than Chase. Chase is at the beginning of his career trying to get his big paycheck. Hassan's like, look, I'm no rookie or anything like that. You know what you need to pay me, so do it.
They would use Hassan up and say,
"Oh God,
appreciate you." Yeah. Thank you. We'll put an article. Yeah. We even buy a page in the newspaper.
Thank you for those 13, 14 sacks. We'll see you. Sorry it didn't work out between us, but and we all know how that stuff goes. Them relationships where we know what we want and we're gonna get it and get it good, boy. But I thought you liked me. Yeah.
That man is Ed Smith. I'm Javon Adams. I try to keep him in check, and he can't be corralled. We do this thing 3 times a week: Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We'll be here on Friday as well. We're in here Monday because I was traveling. I was, dropping kids off at college. Virginia State. I will tell you a quick story. Before I head out of here. So we're in Walmart. And that's, as Ron Wolfe would say, that's no payola. We're in Walmart buying some stuff for our youngest son, Elijah, for his dorm room. And so there's a young lady, she's probably about 18 or so, 18, 19. And so she's ringing us up. And then so I'm looking at the stuff just adding up. And so she says to Elijah, you play football? Young African-American young lady. And she said, you play football? And he says, nah, I ain't playing. I'm not playing. Oh, okay. Where you going? He said, I'm going to, she said, you going state? So Elijah says, state. And so that's what they call Virginia State, because he's going to Virginia State University.
Okay.
And so, you going state? He says, yeah. You nervous? You scared? That's what she said. Because I'm saying it because she's country, so she's saying like
yeah.
You scared? He said, "No, I'm not scared. It's gonna be okay. You're gonna stay. It's gonna be lit." That's what she said. I said, "That's what's up." I said, "Son, it's gonna be lit. You scared?"
Oh boy, to be in the South again, boy.
So that's what's up. So Ed Smith, Javon Adams, EasySportsTalk.com, EasySportsTalk.com. Share it with a friend, tell a friend about what we have going on, and we do appreciate it. You can go to the Easy Sports Talk Show and subscribe on our YouTube page. And until Friday, we'll see you next time. And as we always say around this time, are you kidding?